I'm here today to commission to just bring you some information that I think that you and the community, I talked to Commissioner Netherland last week about some numbers in our community that I think are significant, and also to share with the community. I'm really, and these things are all significant to know, and I appreciate the Commission's work this last year on the budget, because we are now entering a time when we are just about back to what we had a number of deputies for 2007. Which is significant from us, from the losses that we have had in the last few years in trying to make a difference out there. And a couple months ago, I spoke to you about a program called ComStat that we were looking at to evaluate numbers. And everybody kind of questioned, well, should we be spending money on that? And I was thrilled at that time to say that 2.5 months later, the King County Sheriff's Office came out. They found this new program that they were going to use that was going to help in King County, and it was ComStat. And then Seattle Police Chief came in and said, unless we're going to evaluate crime correctly and do these things, we need to go to this program. And they came up with a program called ComStat in Spurling. Everybody followed us, but we were the first ones in. Since that time, we've always had data to harvest, but it makes it quicker for us. And before I get into these numbers, I want to credit the deputies that are out there night and day, because they're making a big difference on this. There's an incredible amount of enthusiasm, especially with some of our new hires that have come in to being on the road. And we've had exceptional leadership with our command staff and our sergeants that have instituted some of these programs. We had the theory a long time ago that if we had one deputy per 1,000, it would make a difference. And we went in and we did those contracts with Lake Cushman and Timber Lakes, which just about put one deputy per 1,000 in a neighborhood. And during that time, our crime numbers started to fall. We said, well, could that really be? Then we turned around and we always wanted to put a North End office, myself and each previous sheriff. What would that do to the North End? Well, we've got those numbers now too, and it's been a significant difference in the north end of the county. In 2012, I did a presentation to the FBI Academy about the issues in Mason County, and a result of that was a guy says, your problem is you have too many spaces and not enough police officers to cover that. By getting back to at least the 2007 numbers, we've got people patrolling areas that we hadn't before. And with that, our building notifications, we have these door hangers that we put on the doors that the deputies are doing, checking businesses. We believe that that's made a difference. The chiefs and the undersheriff have come up with a plan to do zoning areas, to make the deputies responsible for those zones. Chief Spurling will cover that in a minute. And during that time, of course, there was questions about our overtime staffing costs. Well, when you don't have the people, you have to call them in. And so that overtime staffing cost, now we're going to be able to show you where it paid out. And additionally, I also want to credit the volunteers at the North office up there and our volunteers in the agency, because without them, we wouldn't have the North End office to be open. And that's been a significant factor over the years for us. The donations for our dog team, Canine, SWAT, and SAR have also been instrumental in this. But what I want you to hear from Chief Deputy Spurling is the significance of the numbers and what's starting to happen. And the theory has always been that if you have adequate policing in an area, adequate number of police officers, that your crime levels will start to come down. In the first place that people ask when they call our office or move to the community is, am I safe in the community? The businesses are asking, am I safe? And where should my children go to school? The numbers are starting to show what theory we've had for 8 years, and by at least getting our numbers to a level where we can cover shifts, it's made a difference. I'd like to call Chief Ryan Spurling forward to deliver the information on those numbers, and he can also expound on a couple of these programs.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you for the opportunity. I can still remember my statistics class in college. You can always manipulate numbers, so I'm going to give you the percentages, but I'll tell you what the real numbers are so that it's not like this masking or cloaking or trying to push an agenda. One thing that we were real excited about is the big thing people are expressing their most concern about is property crimes, and that's been consistent. So those are the ones we look at first. Over the county for 2013 through 2014, and we compared the full year of 2013 with the full year of 2014. In 2013, we had 570 burglaries in the county, and we had a 13% reduction in 2014 with 495. So there's a significant difference county-wide. But then if you get into the North Precinct area, where we actually had implemented just this last year the North Precinct, the numbers are even more dramatic, which there's probably a lot of things involved. One of the biggest things that is an influence, I think, on this is the deputies' involvement with the community. The more we get involved with the community, the more we communicate with the community, the more support, the more trust we gain. They give us the information, and with that, we're able to do more. Because realistically, the police will, and law enforcement will never be able to do it by ourselves. We have to have the trust of the communities. With all of the stuff with Ferguson, and before I go into the numbers with the North End, with Ferguson and New York and the different things with the tension between communities and police, we're excited to report that in 2014 we took a look at all of our uses of force, and we compared that to the number of contacts that we had. And we had thousands of contacts, and out of all of our contacts where we make contact with the citizens, 0.3, not 3%, 0.3% of them ended in the use of force, which is much lower than the averages throughout the state or throughout the United States. So that's an encouraging thing in our use of force area. Another area, for the North County in 2013, we had 249 burglaries. In 2014, with the implementation of the North Precinct, with our zone assignments starting to get into full gear, and with our block watch programs being reignited with some areas and new block watch programs being started, with our registered sex offender programs, and there's a lot of influences that affect these numbers. With our numbers being up from where they were back to the numbers that we had in 2008, our staffing is a little bit up. We went from 249 in 2013 to 149 in 2014. 100 less families were affected by burglary in the North Precinct. It's a 40% decrease. That's exciting. In the community, I was really shocked with all the different things going on with in the news and everything else. The support that we're getting in that North Precinct, people bringing by goodies and cards, they're feeling it. And I've also had an opportunity to walk around with some of the businesses with T.R. Rankin, who people just know them and love them, and the businesses know and trust at a greater level than they have before, and they're excited about it. Our thefts for 2013 were 252, and in 2014 they were 206, a 19% reduction.
That's countywide?
No, that's just in the North County. In the North County, we had, in 2013, we had 6 rapes. In 2014, we had 1. That's an 83% decrease, but 5 people weren't raped. That's exciting news. That's exciting information. Motor vehicle thefts, we had 47 in 2013. We're down to 43 in 2014, an 8% reduction. There are a couple.
What were those numbers again on that last one?
Motor vehicle thefts, 47 in 2013 to 43 in 2014. There are a few numbers that did go up. Our homicides went up from 1 to 2, so it was if you looked at the numbers, it's a 100% increase, but from 1 to 2, and we, from what I understand, the history is normally, it's been around 2 per year, and the only other area that has gone up is our aggravated assaults. We went from 20 to 28. And again, as the sheriff mentioned in the North Precinct, we've also, we took a look at our numbers, and we had, our volunteers donated over 3,300 hours last year. And that's huge. And most of these people are retired people, and they have nothing really to gain except to serve the community and serve the sheriff's office, and they're just wonderful people. And as people come into the North Precinct and get their concealed weapons license or get different things, those are the people that are helping them, and we're really grateful for their help and the community involvement. Any questions on that?
I will tell you, T.R. Rankin, we do love him up there.
Yes.
We truly do.
A question, Mr. Chairman. Please. When you say the North Precinct, what defines that area for you?
Great question. We divided the county by, the GIS zones, and we took those zones, and then we created a North and a South Precinct, and then we divided them into, there's 7 zones in the North Precinct and 7 in the South Precinct. it's all of Tahuya, all of
okay.
all of Tahuya, all the way down through Belfair to the county line. And if you come up State Route 106, it goes towards the Alderbrook.
Yes.
So it's all the way up to Alderbrook. And then if you go up Mason Lake, it's covering Mason Lake all the way up to Emerald Lake.
Okay.
And if you come up State Route 3, it goes up to Mason, no, it goes past Mason. That's actually up to the Island View Road.
Okay.
So
So
that's all, everything north of that.
So Grapeview would be in the
Yes,
North Precinct?
that's all
Okay.
part of it. And then we've broken down each zone, and this is the exciting part for me as a precinct commander, is that we've broken down each zone and we know this zone has a reduction, this zone has a reduction. Oh, there's a zone over here that has an increase. Let's do our emphasis over here. Let's start paying attention to this zone and see if we can get it to decrease as well. The only zone that's had an increase in the North Precinct in the last year was the Grapeview area, and it went up by 2 burglaries. So we're going to be taking a look at that to see how we can reduce that as well.
Okay. Do you also then do that same analysis in what you would call the South Precinct as well?
Yes.
Which would be all the rest of the county, I assume,
Yes,
right?
and one of the things that whenever you push on a balloon and it starts to go a different direction, when the North Precinct was instituted, we reallocated, the sheriff reallocated some of those resources. So we've actually had some increases in the south end that we haven't, because some of those resources that used to be in the south end are in the north end now.
Mm-hmm.
So will we be able to get,
Please
be
do.
able to get used to doing that?
Yep.
Be able to get regular reports on these stats?
Yes, ma'am. This
is-
ComStat is very efficient. We're able to pull this data up very quickly as opposed to somebody sitting down and going through every single call and tallying and tabulating. This does it for us, and it does it for us in real time. The neat thing about it is we're requiring our zone deputies, after they come off of days off, to pull up their zone and see what happened in their zone, what crimes they were, read the reports, see if there's a trend, if there's a burglary trend or a theft trend that's going on, and then they're starting to get in the mindset of predicting and preventing some of those crimes from occurring if there's a pattern that's distinguishable.
Do you at times shift them around from different areas? Even though it's best to have actual ID and have them knowing each other, I just wonder if there's an extra catch-all to find out if somebody's not doing their job, not patrolling as much as they should, if there's some movement with another officer and then things go down since you have this new technology. Is that a
Yes.
possibility?
And this is something that's kind of evolving as we go with this new zone precinct, so that you're not confused. A zone deputy answers to calls throughout the entire precinct. The zone deputy is specifically designed that they're the expert of that community, and if the community has non-emergency concerns, they take it to that zone deputy. So they have a face that they know and somebody that they have developed a relationship with and can give information. And yes, the deputies actually bid for shifts, so they do rotate periodically.
Good.
And we can analyze that data. We haven't gotten to that point where we say, okay, this deputy was more successful than that deputy in this zone because of A, B, or C, but we'll be looking at that in the future.
This is exciting news.
Mr. Chairman, last
please.
last question from me. I was sorry when the sheriff was talking. I was looking through my book here, and what I was trying to find was some of the old information I had for years back with Waspic. What's that now? Washington
Association of Sheriffs.
Sheriffs and police chiefs, and I think that organization all used the same method to rank crime rates. So is this new technology going to be accepted by other counties as well, so we could take a look at our neighbors and see how we're doing?
Yes,
Or
for the most part, and that's why I was mentioning it. We were one of the first agencies to look into this when we were talking about spending
Yes.
the money, and that's the significance of something we wanted to do and felt would be important. And now that we've stepped into that realm and started doing other stuff too. And
Okay.
so the data reporting will always be the same in Waspic. It just gives us a more accurate picture in our community, and we can harvest that data much faster to respond to it much faster.
To answer your question, Commissioner, ComStat is part of our records management system. It's part of the Spurling module.
Okay.
But the actual NIBRS required data that we have to report to WASPIC and the state, that's the same data. So nothing changes on that end.
good, thank you.
And it'll be very important for us to work with neighboring counties. For example, we work with Kitsap County a lot. in the north end, because as we push some of that crime, it'll go into Kitsap County, and the sheriff and the people over there will be pushing it back, and that's part of the process. So we'll be working together to try to make key arrests to eliminate crimes and that type of thing.
And I'm sure if this commission has worked really hard to try and support you and help you and move your numbers forward. I have to admit, there's a line that I hear out in Belfair now, and it's become one of my favorite lines. And that's when somebody bumps into me and says, "Boy, be careful, the cops are really out today."
I just smelled something, it was brought up this morning to me, and I just want to mention this, and I think this is really
Thank you,
significant
Chief.
for you to remember. Interesting, since we've had the North Precinct and changed our model a little bit, and the important piece was getting some deputy positions filled back so that we had the opportunity to do this. Is it much like you're saying, Commissioner, I cannot tell you the number of times that I have been invited to business meetings in the North End and been on the North Basin Chamber Board, and people tell us, I can't believe the number of more police officers that you have. We don't. We're just getting back to what we had in 2007. The difference is during that time, is having that area at the north end to where our officers didn't have to drive from the north end to the south end to do a report, turn around and drive all the way back to the north end. That precinct up there has been something that's been after for years. I would credit each one of the sheriffs previous to my time for trying to do the same thing. And all of us coming together, we're going to get that moved up there. But that has made a significant difference because we're not spending time driving up and down Highway 3. That time that used to be going up and down, we're spending in the community. So we don't have this whole ton of new deputies in the area. It's just if we're able to stay in the area a more significant amount of time, kind of the service up there, stay up there, do our paperwork. And it has been tremendously helpful for us. We really appreciate the work on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.